The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors Network.
Beyond the Mandalorian TV spots have for season 2, which is honestly making it more difficult to behave in public because we still have to wait 3 more weeks for the first episode. Plus, Ewan McGregor says he feels more connected to Sir Al Guinness now reprising the role of Kenobi for Disney Plus than the prequel. Why that is, and Arzu joins us to talk Star Wars Squadrons from the perspective of a non-gamer. Even if you don't like video games, she says this one reason is why you have to get your hands on this game. We talk about all these things and a lot more now here on BTBD Live.
The farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest. You're watching Beyond the Blast Doors Live.
What's that? There might be a Cara Dune something. You got to be kidding me. Episode 92, BTBD Live on a Wednesday, a brand new night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Ignore the graphic on your screen. It's not Thursday. You're not drunk. The graphic's wrong. It is Wednesday. And here we are talking together in this moment, talking Star Wars. There's a new face. There's a new look. A lot of new. I'm just excited that we got this far. Because honestly, there were 5 moments where this didn't happen. So let's say hi to everybody. We got Mr. Pete Fletcher. Pete, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just excited to be here. Seems, by the way, that we're getting some echo. Just mentioning what I'm hearing from the chat. They may be getting some echo. If they would let us know if they're hearing it even as we're speaking. I heard it during the music, but I'm not hearing it now. So sorry to do some technical support.
Oh my gosh, Pete, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Wait, let me try that again. Ask me again.
No, you missed your time. Hey, coming up, guest. Originally, Arzu, you were going to be just a guest. You're going to join us for 9 minutes. And at the last minute, Pete's like, I don't like you, David, so we're going to have Arzu on the entire show.
Last minute, I invited myself for a solid hour.
Pete's getting put in a timeout. I'll say that much. But no, Arzu, we're so glad to have you. Arzu is joining us on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. We'll talk about one of her articles that she wrote this week later up in the show. But Arzu, welcome to BTBD Live.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here despite your hesitation that I might not be. I'm actually very excited to be here.
Oh, no, I'm sure you're excited. Pete, we're still trying to figure out what the hell his problem is. Hey, we're going to have a great time over the next hour, a lot to get to, but surprisingly, we have breaking news within the last 4 hours. This is how great.
Every time we do a show, something hits.
How great is it, though, that this is how it would work out? So here's what happened. And Pete, you can help me out with this too, because our friends over at Kessel Runs Transmissions just come out hours ago on this Wednesday, October 14th, and they dropped some knowledge that they can confirm via sources that there is a Cara Dune spin-off series with, yes, Miss Sackhoff's Bo-Katan. And we don't have a release date on this. We actually know very little. We don't even know what time period this series is going to happen. There was someone else that I think actually confirmed this. You might remember, for the last 4 months, the guys over there at Kessel Run was like, hey, we got to sit on this. But there's another spinoff from The Mandalorian. And today they were able to confirm what that is. So this is quite unscripted because this is breaking news. But let's just kind of go around the table and talk about our excitement or maybe lack thereof. Cara Dune's a character that we realistically didn't get to experience a whole lot with her in the first season. Arzu, you are our guest. So let's start with you. Your reaction to a Cara Dune spinoff with Bo-Katan.
I like that Pete knows what I'm going to say. So if it was like a young Cara Dune, I would be super excited because I liked the character. But with the comments Gina Carano has made recently, I am less excited to see her come back. But I'm torn because I'm very excited about the potential of Bo-Katan. So if it was a younger them in some scenario, I am totally on board. Otherwise, less so for Gina Carano reason.
I can respect that. Oh, wait, what was that last bit about Gina Carano?
I just said for Gina Carano reasons, I am less on board. That's all.
Well, yeah, there has been some scandal. Pete, what do you think about this? A Gina Carano helmed series. You two seem to be on good speaking terms. Should I not have brought that up?
I wish
Bad
we had
time.
a screen grab of
Is-
why you
is-
said that, because it's hilarious.
One of those moments where we wish you wouldn't have tweeted at Gina Carano.
That's right.
Who would have known she would have been helming her own Disney Plus series? You jerk.
Wow, I ruined that opportunity. I'm with Arzu in from a perspective, a certain point of view, in that
Okay.
I don't love what Gina had to say, and I'm having a very difficult time separating the character from the actress, and I hate that because I thought the Cara Dune character had so much potential. But David, you and I have said it, and you know, it's on YouTube. You can see us saying it. We never really felt like she was the greatest actress, right, on the show. We love the character. I love the concept of a rebel soldier who's from Alderaan, who witnessed, you know, the destruction of her planet. The character possibilities are there. Gina just you know, she's, look, I just, the politics, personal politics, and Star Wars, or any movie. I mean, it's the big challenge of living in the social media world right now, is those of us as fans to try to separate character from actress and actor, and I think it's near impossible to do effectively.
Speaks like a man who tweets politics from his Twitter account. Pete Pletzer, he is, let me tell you, he is the Star Wars social media police. I'm kidding. He's not. I'm just giving him trouble. No, I think you have really good points there. Here's my thing. I always like the opportunity to have more Star Wars. I'm never going to say I don't want more Star Wars, but I do have concerns. Are we building on The Mandalorian too soon? That's my one question.
Another great point. Yep.
We have one season. I'm very excited about season 2. I'm very excited to learn more about what the story Favreau and Filoni and others are trying to craft, especially because Favreau's going to be more hands-on. There's rumors out there of an Ahsoka spinoff. You have this series now. And so I'm just a little hesitant, because if I were to pick the gallery of characters that we have from the series, I don't think that I'm picking Cara Dune based on season 1 as a spin-off character. I also like Bo-Katan, like that's a really cool addition. Like Katie Sackhoff is going to crush that role. Everyone thinks that. Kind of would rather have like Ahsoka Bo-Katan. Like, I don't know. Like, and I'm not, I guess I'm a brat. Guys. And that's what we have to acknowledge, is I'm an ungrateful Star Wars fan, because how dare I get this little rumor today and I'm running around with it and I'm not appreciative for it. But that's my hesitancy. I don't know the character enough. I don't think that the acting ability is there to helm a limited series. And so that's not me attacking her as a person or as a professional. That's just my opinion. And you can take that for whatever you want. You watch the show, so I'm assuming you like it.
Yeah, let me shine a different perspective on it and say it way, because I love the fact that we are in a position to say that maybe we're getting too much of one thing, right? How great is it to be in a time of Star Wars where we can have an opinion that maybe we don't want that, maybe we don't want Bad Batch, maybe we don't want it's so great that we're in that position right now. That being said, I agree with you, and I haven't thought of it that way. To offer up an Ahsoka series so soon, potentially, and to offer up a Cara Dune series potentially so soon, it feels like them. Give me the Cassian series, right? I'm waiting for that. What kind of characters are gonna build out of that we're gonna want more of, and who are we gonna meet in the Kenobi series that we're gonna want more of? So, and again, here's the other thing that's really important to remember, and I think we've said this on this show before. I think we said it when we had streaming Star Wars. There's always a show in development. Lucasfilm is working on right now 50 different things that we don't even know about. Somehow Kessel Run Transmissions hasn't heard about it. There is always something going on. So there are definitely conversations going on. And I will also say there's probably a good chance that part of those conversations right now are exactly what Arzu alluded to, is they're probably saying, hey, with the sort of storm she created in social media, do we want to pursue this character right now, just from a PR perspective?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's interesting because Disney's in a weird situation too, where I feel like it empowers some actors and actresses to be outspoken of a certain platform, and then it's like, okay, well, Gina feels this way, and so that's what she did. It's just, that's complicated. I don't want to talk about her. I don't care about her politics. I care about what she does in the show. I want her to get stronger in this role and as an actress, as an artist, because if she is going to helm this next series, I want it to be good. It's going to be large scale. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know what time period it happened. We don't know any episodes. We just know that it's in development, but it is confirmed with legitimate sources. So kudos to the guys over there at Kessel Run Transmissions for making that known. Well, and again, technically someone else broke it today. I don't know who that person is. I did watch their video. They gave them credit. So watch their video if you want to know the first person, but they did have this for like 4 months. So we want to know what you think. Would you watch that show? A Cara Dune helmed show on Disney Plus. Let us know in the comments below if you're joining us live. Also, you can always reach out to us at BTBD Star Wars. We got some people online saying how they feel. We'll go ahead and see. Let me see if I do this right. Oh my gosh, I did it.
Very good.
2Med2 says the normies will watch Cara Dune shoe, but not Bo-Katan show. Okay, so I'm pretty sure not shoe, but show. I think that's interesting. I don't know if I'm talking to a Clone Wars fan. I don't know. Arzu, am I wrong? But I feel like a Bo-Katan show would be a little bit more propelling.
I think so too, but I also think where 2Med2 is coming from is that if you're somebody who just watches The Mandalorian and hasn't seen Clone Wars, you don't know who Bo-Katan is yet.
Right.
Obviously, if she is in season 2, then you'll have a better idea. Then maybe you might be more interested in the Bo-Katan show. But as of right now, assuming that you don't watch the animation, then you only know Cara Dune. So that's probably what they mean.
Yeah, okay, and I can roll with that. Kat says a Cara Dune series on Disney Plus would be interesting. Her character would be awesome to see more character building, and more new characters could get introduced as well. I really like that idea. And also, off this point, so is Katie Sackhoff's Bo-Katan like in 2 series now? Because isn't she supposed to be in The Mandalorian? So does that give us any indication of where this Cara Dune series will happen? Because it could happen after. I mean, I guess there's a chance that these 2 characters have met before the events of Mandalorian, because we're like 6 years after Return of the Jedi. That's all plausible. But
maybe they're going to try to backdoor pilot Bo-Katan in somewhere. So they'll set her up in her episode, and then whatever they set her up to do is going to be the basis for her show.
Now that's something a writer would say. Good on you.
And then, well, then if Cara Dune is in that episode, then they were thinking that they were going to put her in there. But then if they decide, as I honestly think they should, to not pursue the Cara Dune avenue and just go with Bo-Katan, then that gives them that option too, because they didn't commit to anything.
I like that.
My theory, but
I love that theory. I think it's awesome. Kat, by the way, thanks for joining us on Facebook. Matt H says, give the Boba lovers a Boba Fett series so their heads will explode. Pete, how do you feel about this one? I feel like we're always talking about Boba Fett. We think that we're going to get him in The Mandalorian. Honestly, he has his own comic book right now, so you can just have a love fest over those 22 panels of ink if you want.
I think we are getting a Boba Fett show in the form of The Mandalorian. I think at the end of the day, Filoni and Favreau wanted to create a Boba Fett show, but they couldn't, so they created The Mandalorian, and I think it should be totally. I'm very curious as to what role Boba Fett may or may not play in season 2, but I fall into the category of people who think he looks cool, but is there's a lot of love shown to him for limited reason. I think we already know more about Din Djarin, and give me more of him before you give me more Boba.
Yeah, I agree.
I gotta say, I'm pretty excited about this Cobb Vanth thing. A lot of people thinking that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a cool way to do it. I mean, Chuck Wendig's book where he appeared for the first time. I love those books, and I thought that was a really cool way to put it together.
And those books get so much hate. They're so good. They're so good.
They really are.
I don't get it. Let us know what
you feel about them, Marzo. Do you like those books? I'm sorry.
They're like in the middle. Like I like some of the things they set up. Like a lot of my theories going into episode 9 came from Aftermath.
Right.
You remember this. A lot of my theories came from there, but so for that reason I enjoy them. So after the fact, they kind of fell to the middle of my ranking. But
yeah, that's fair.
Chuck Wendig is the reason why I thought the Knights of Ren were like this, this cult of Sith artifact hunters, and I thought this whole thing, and damn it to hell, it didn't happen. Okay, I'm good.
Too bad JJ didn't read the books.
He's the reason I thought Rey's parents were Imperials for the longest time.
Oh my gosh, that'd be
I'm like,
so
they're from
great.
the outpost on Jakku, obviously, and they all think I'm stupid for telegraphing it like this, and then it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, so I guess I am just stupid.
Well, as always, we want to say thanks for letting us know what you think in the live chat. Be sure you're commenting all throughout the show. We'll pull those comments up and explore those as we make our way through episode 92. Am I going to do this right? Yes, I am.
Woohoo!
Next topic here on the show, because that was breaking news. This is actually how we were supposed to start this week's show. which is the fact that we have word from Ewan McGregor himself that production on Kenobi is going to start this March. He was on the Graham Norton show. That's like a UK talk show.
I love that show.
It's so good. And it's like, they've really found a way, didn't they, Pete, like to make that show, and Arzu too. It's so much more relevant than, like I would make the argument that late night in America has kind of gotten a little stale. And there's just something about the humor. Maybe it's like the British humor that makes that show flow so well. But he was brought in on the monitor, and he was talking about how age will play such a role in playing Kenobi this time around, because he had a lot of freedom in the prequels. He was a young guy. He was able to kind of use some of Alec Guinness's earlier films as inspiration, but he's a lot closer to Alec's age now. What do you think that will do for the maturity of this Kenobi that we're going to get in the desert that we assume is struggling with like PTSD? Pete, you're kind of that age too. What do you think about Ewan McGregor's acknowledgement of his age being a benefit for this round with Kenobi in the Dune Sea of Tatooine? Pete,
Ewan who now? I'm sorry, I took the
Pete. Look at the camera.
Yeah.
Pete, you're drooling. Pete, okay, it's okay, it's all right. God love you.
I'm so glad Arzu's on the show now, so there's somebody that I like talking to.
That's Don't put me in the middle
that
of
was
this.
Pete. I just took him out. Pete Fletcher, what a great guy here on Beyond the Blast Doors Network. This guy, he's such a schmuck. I can't believe he did
They
that.
literally put me in the middle of this.
I put him. Yeah, I had to separate us. I had to separate the kids were arguing. We had to separate the boys. No, but really, Pete. I mean, you hear him talk about this, and we mentioned this 3 episodes ago. My God, it's just great to hear him actually talk about the production. But yeah, I'm looking for a more intimate story. And don't you think the real experience that he's gained with age will help him bring Kenobi back to the screen?
I think it will. I think it's also the comment that I liked the most out of the interview with Graham Norton was somebody said, I think it was Graham Norton himself, who said something like, "So the show is all about just you." And he alluded the question a little bit, and he said, well, it's not just me, which I thought was cool because there's all these rumors swirling about how the show's going to be put together. So I thought that was what I took away. That was the nugget I took away. But I do love the fact that he's approaching it. And what I think is the most important thing is I've never seen somebody so excited to get back to playing a character. He was excited to play Obi-Wan back in 1999, and he's excited to be back, and that speaks volumes, and that's what's got me psyched to see the show.
Arzu is someone who has been really open about your love-hate relationship with the sequel trilogy, and we all kind of seem to grow to appreciate the prequels. What does that enthusiasm that Pete's talking about, what does that do for you and your excitement to see Ewan back as Kenobi?
Well, I never had a love-hate with the prequels. It was love from the beginning. And really, the love-hate with the sequel trilogy is just episode 9. I love the first 2. But
we appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, just let me be clear.
The record
There's only
shows.
one thing I dislike.
The record
but
show. That's right.
The excitement going into the Kenobi, I'm just so over the moon excited for this show. Like, you can kind of see it over my shoulder if you're watching. There's a picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi on my wall. Like, I love this character. I love this is going to sound terrible. I love how sad he is. There's just so much potential for angst, for drama, for all this recollection of just what the last 15 years, I guess, of his life have been. So there's a lot of good potential for story there. And I'm really, really sort of excited to see that come to Disney Plus finally, because I feel like we were supposed to have it by now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's had so many different iterations, right? It's been well documented. Yeah. It was supposed to be a movie. Then they broke it down into TV scripts. There's been a lot of directorial changes. Deborah Chow now gets to focus on that, which is why we don't have her in season 2 of The Mandalorian. And I think that's what excites me the most. This is another series that we're going to be seeing produced within the volume, which is the technology that they used on The Mandalorian. So it'll be interesting to see how an experienced actor with green screen. Let's remember the prequels was like, what did they say? Like 70-something% was green screen. I mean, I always think of the Mustafar battle behind the scenes featurette, and they're just wigging out on cardboard boxes. And so he is someone that is used to not having a whole lot of environment to operate in. Imagine Ewan McGregor coming back to Star Wars, and now he is truly fully immersed in that world. I think that he's having fun now. I think it elevates when he gets into production. Again, that starts in March. Again, we don't know when that series will debut on Disney Plus. We don't know the number of episodes. We understand that it is a limited series. My guess, December 10th is the next investors call for Disney. I think this and a lot more Star Wars content gets confirmed, whether it's happening in 2021, 22, or 23, and maybe even beyond. But let's be honest with I was saying D23, but not for this year. With a lot of Disney's opportunities to engage audiences in person canceled because of COVID-19, I think a lot of people are maybe keeping an eye or keeping an ear rather open for that Disney investor call on December 10th. So we'll see what comes from there, but super excited about that. And of course, always excited to hear from you. And I should make a clarification. He's 49 now. He'll be 50 when they start shooting. I should make, oh wait, what's this? Scotty J. Rose says Pete is old as time itself. That's rude. Matthew says, respect your elders, David. Well, he's my cohort. He's my cohort. John says, we love our gray hairs. I almost misread that. That would have been terrible. Apprentice Ewok says, damn, nice burn, David. All right, someone appreciates my humor. And Matthew H says, Father Time is Pete's BFF. You are, I would call you a silver fox.
How did this happen tonight? What?
You know, last week we were getting like Mr. T photos with Pete's face photoshopped on them, so I'd rather
Pete
have this.
Flexer, yeah.
But I will say this, and I do agree with Gilster37. Great interview, Pete, with Kevin Anderson. Great interview that Pete you dropped last night. It is an incredible conversation. I've listened to it twice. After this show, if you haven't already, go check out that conversation. See, I can be a nice guy. I can be a nice guy. Hey, what do you think about Obi-Wan Kenobi shooting it in March? We're getting closer and closer. Definitely seems like it would need at least a year to be shot and do the post-production. I'm feeling like late 2022, early 2023, but you do have Cassian Andor yet to work around, The Bad Batch. You have Mandalorian season 3 and 4. A lot. That schedule, it's filling up for Star Wars fans. It's going to be interesting to see how this all fleshes out. Let us know in the live chat. Also tweet us at BTBD Star Wars. You know, we're about 20 minutes into this show, guys, and I got to tell you, I am impressed that I haven't crashed the ship yet. I'm honestly,
too soon.
You know what? I don't appreciate that whatsoever. You have little faith, jerk. Arzu, why are you so nice? And Pete, it's like the yin and yang thing going on here right now. We're having a good time.
Look, this is our first show.
It's your first time doing this. If we're both roasting you, it's just gonna go. It's just gonna go downhill so fast.
I'm planning to send Arzu a whole bunch of notes after the show. But
I'm not supposed to be the straight man here. I'm son of a gun. It's all right. We're having a good time. Hey, you know what we're doing here though is Arzu is with us. This is why is because, well, she's right. One of the reasons, but Star Wars Squadrons has been out now for 2 weeks, and fans all across the world are taking to the stars. Pilots don't have to venture too far before becoming really hyper aware why they weren't meant to fly planes in the first place in reality, because for a lot of gamers, this isn't an easy game. And I'm saying that myself. My game crashes 5 minutes in, but the 5 minutes that I get, I am terrible. But the story and the experience pretty incredible, and it's pulling in non-gamers, and that's why we are joined by Arzu Amin this week, because not only is she a non-gamer herself, a self-proclaimed non-gamer herself, but she's also the latest and greatest member of the BTBD crew. So we are so glad to have you with us, and officially welcome to the family, Arzu. It's so good to have you.
Officially, thank you. I'm happy to be part of this family, despite Pete's skepticism.
That's so funny.
Welcome. I'm withdrawing my welcome. I think it's
Ouch.
Unbelievable. Well, let's dive right into this because I think it's a fun conversation that we're set up for. You know, maybe non-gamer is too firm. I used to game in high school, not really anymore, Arzu, but you brought this game probably playing for the campaign experience, but also for that online experience as well. I'm assuming that you're not secretly a member of Team Liquid. I'm assuming you are a non-gamer as you proclaim. But what are you enjoying the most right now? That online experience or the campaign that takes a little bit easier on you?
So full disclosure, I haven't gone online yet. One, because I'm scared. And two, because I've been battling a bit of a stomach bug the last couple of days. And I fly so poorly that if I spin the way I usually do, I'll probably make myself sick. So I just haven't played it all in the last couple of days. But I bought it primarily for the campaign. I actually hadn't planned on buying it at all until I realized there was a campaign mode, and then I thought, okay, there's a story here, so if there's a story, I'm gonna want to experience it. So that's why I got it, and I'm enjoying campaign mode so far.
I love that. Wes Braswell is watching on Facebook. Wes, hello. He says, shout out that family video has many, many Star Wars games, which is great. If you still buy games in person, God bless you. I did Steam, and I don't know, maybe that's why my PC keeps crashing. I'm not quite sure. Here's my thing. I think for me, my gaming experience is always so campaign driven because I like the story. I like learning new tidbits. You get to familiarize with new characters. Maybe you get little samples of this and that about the pre-existing story that you didn't know already. Now, Pete, you have played the online experience a lot. Would you beg to say that the campaign is not as great of experience as flying around with your friends?
I wouldn't go that far. I would say it's two experiences, actually. And I think one of the things that is amazing with the campaign, and I may have said it last week, but the campaign is a payoff for people like the three of us who are on this show, who love the lore, who read the books, who watch the television shows and stuff, because there are Easter eggs dropped throughout. I will not tell anybody any of them because I'm only a handful of missions in, and I know there's more to come, and every one is a wonderful surprise, whether it's the mention of a character or the appearance of a character. And so I think that the campaign is great for that, but the online experience has been just so much fun. I mean, I stink. I'm no good. Join me online, but don't expect me to protect you, cover your wing, because it's going to be bad. But playing it, just a couple days ago, playing it with Andy and Josh and Scotty, and my first mission I flew with Shannon. So those of us in the network, plus Apprentice Ewok, who's one of our patrons, he and I have flown. There's and just to be able to get out there and just sort of play with your friends, is an experience that you need to try it. I've been awful at Fortnite online. I get murdered there very quickly and very frustrated. But I think that's one of the other things is because it's such a fun experience, I don't want to throw the controller like I normally would when I'm playing a multiplayer online game.
You bought like $120 joystick, so you probably should be a little bit more careful with throwing
I'll be very
that.
careful. Well, that's the other reason why I haven't thrown it. Is because...
Did you see there is like a New Republic-ified controller for the PlayStation?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I think it's for Xbox actually.
Oh, that's for Xbox. Yep. Oh, well, it looks gorgeous.
We don't get fun things on the PlayStation, apparently.
No, we don't.
Well, I play PC, and I get a game that doesn't freaking work. So there you go. Hey, I want to shout out real quick. This is interesting. Apprentice Ewok says, I honestly think EA made a mistake by saying they don't have DLC planned, but I'm loving playing and being part of Voodoo Squadron. Woo. That's right. He's a Patreon supporter. Arzu, to get you up to speed, we have Patreon supporters. And if they join, they can join Voodoo Squadron. And Pete, the merch whore that he is promoting that merch right now.
Always.
But you know what? I think he's right. And Pete, you kind of spoke up about it. But first, I'd like to go to Arzu. As someone who doesn't play games a lot,
right?
Is downloadable content post the original release important to you? Is that something that entices you to want to get a game?
No. In all honesty, no. I think maybe when the Lego Skywalker Saga comes out, my answer might be different. But for this and for Battlefront 2, which is the only game I've ever completed the campaign on, I played for the campaign. I played for the story. So the additional DLC wasn't an incentive because my brother and I had the game already. So just in long story short, it doesn't make a huge difference to me, but I understand that other people are upset about this.
Oh, Pete is one of those people.
No, I think it's strange that they came out and said it. The game right now is at a peak. It's at a high. If you go on Twitter, even people who don't game, Arzu, you're a great example of somebody who's not an avid gamer who is involved in to go out and say and make a point of saying we don't plan to offer DLC seems a little bit of a PR mistake, and I feel like they're going to put stuff out there. Here's my vision. Here's my hope. Much like Fortnite, where you can spend $10 to get different skins and different colors for your whatever. My son constantly is asking me for a new skin for Fortnite. I don't understand spending that kind of money on something that doesn't help your game and only looks cool. with Star Wars, if you're going to offer me for X number of dollars the ability to paint my ship with something else, or to have access to another type of weapon or something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend the money. So I think my opinion is they're going to come around on it. They're going to change their opinion on that, and they'll make it available because people will pay for it.
Here's my question, Arzu, from your experience so far, what about this game is worth it to the non-gamer to make the investment, that $40 investment?
For the non-gamer, if you are into the story, if you're into the lore, on that side, that is worth it. It's a nice campaign. It's a nice sort of, if you like the pilot stuff, then it's a fun, engaging story, and then you sort of get to interact with pilots from the TV shows, from the movies. So that part of it's cool. If you're just the type who doesn't want to miss out, whose friends are gamers, then you have that online option, and you can play with them cross-platform, which is, I think, a new thing, but I don't know. So like that's a new feature. So for the non-gamer in that respect, that's also fun. But if you don't like pilots and you don't like Star Wars, then there's nothing here for you. But then I assume you're not listening to me talk right now anyway. So yeah.
The honesty there, I love it. I'm really excited about it. For me, I think that I'm really impressed with how immersive it is, as far as like a visually, like a visual spectacle. I love it. And I think it's probably because I am playing on PC. The little time I have experience with this game, what it looks like on my monitor is unbelievable. And I think about playing like Jedi Starfighter on the PS2 so many years ago, and I mean, that was mind-blowing as a 15-year-old. But now, a little bit more than 10 years later, and this is the kind of video game that we get. I think it's spectacular. We talked about it last week. I mean, I know that people don't like the fact that there's no DLC planned, but I still think that this is a step in the right direction for EA. I think it's a better use of the license. We've got 3 solid games here, back to back to back. I would hope that the response to Star Wars Squadrons is enough to where DLC it's revisited. Do you think do you think there's a possibility, guys?
Yeah, and I think at $40, even if they don't, you haven't overinvested, right? I mean, compared to the average $60 game. So I think I think they'll come around on it, but it's not a deal breaker. It wouldn't stop anybody. It shouldn't stop anybody from buying it.
And by the way, if you want to find out more about what the non-gamer would enjoy from Star Wars Squadrons, it just turns out that Arzu wrote a full article on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com, and really well done. What a great, fun read to have here. And I found myself relating in a lot of spots, especially right in the middle where she's like, listen, I am terrible at this game. I'm terrible at this game, Arzu. So we can relate there. Oh, hey, there's that controller that I was telling you about. God, that thing is gorgeous. But yeah, Arzu has that full article up online on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. So be sure you check that out. And Arzu, before we let you go, something also we did on the website was we did like 5 questions with you, just trying to get to better know who you are. But real quick, you're writing for the website. Can you talk a little bit more about how writing is kind of a major part of your life? Give everyone a chance to get to know who you are.
Yeah. So I, for a job, I'm a television writer. So I'm writing like television writing contracts. So that's my life outside of online.
She's like the coolest person here now. So that's cool.
And then, no, that's not true. And then online, I write for Beyond the Blast Doors. I write for another site called The Geeky Waffle. And then I have my own blog, arzud2.com, where right now I'm currently going through every Star Wars canon book and sort of giving I'm trying to be nice about all of them, my impressions of all the books. And I'm just about to finish the main canon timeline before we dive into anthologies, middle grade, and novelizations. That's next.
That is
I'm on the last one.
It's
been going on since March.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
We're all so excited to have you here. I think that anyone listening so far, here's your passion and love for Star Wars, and also your honesty, which I think is great. Pete and I can kind of get curmudgeon-y about some things, and then there's other times where we have too much fun with ourselves, and we need we need an adult in the room, and that's why we have Arzu. And we're so glad that you decided to come on the show this week and talk about your articles. And you've also reviewed, you have a book review up on the website. I'm thinking we'll make mention of that here in a little bit, probably later on in the show.
Sure.
But you got something cooking up for the next couple of weeks, so we're gonna be just keeping an eye out for all your great work.
All right.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're doing. We just decided that in this moment. Pete, we have a website. Do we need to spend time telling people why they need to be on our website, or do you think we've given them every reason?
I can tell you real quick. If we want you to be coming to BeyondTheBlasters.com when you need information about Star Wars. We are quickly becoming a great source for news, information, opinion. Whether it's you want to find one of the 6 shows that are on the network, or you want to find reviews and commentary, much like we just talked about that Arzu did, come and join our Star Wars conversation on BeyondTheBlasters.com.
Oh, look at that. Star Wars Fascinating Facts. That's another review from Arzu. We've got Marie Wilson in the house. Spoiler review of Darth Vader number 6. Oh, hey, look. That's Kevin Anderson on the Beyond the Blast Doors website because he was on Around the Galaxy. Such a damn good episode. Such a damn good episode. All right, fam. So this is where we are on the show. It's 9:37. Arzu, how you doing? You bored yet? You happy? You having a good time?
I'm having a good time. Not bored.
Good.
Don't worry.
I'm very rest assured now.
He never asks me if I'm bored, which is interesting.
Well, because you're drinking, so that tells me. I don't. I really don't. At this point, I don't. I will say this though. We had Marie was going to join us, and there were going to be 4 of us on screen at one time, which if you've been following the show since we started in 2016, that's a nothing shy of a small miracle that we can have so many people on the show at one time. It's a party. I'm thinking about inviting my father to come on the show just so we can have 4 people.
You have your
on
dad,
screen.
I'll have my dad, and it'll just be crazy.
Arsu's like, and
I go get mine.
Yeah.
Bring yours.
Sure.
Oh my God.
That would be funny. If we bring in we should have our parents on one day.
My dad would just be staring at his webcam and just be like,
my dad wouldn't stop talking. So
you think?
Good.
Oh, okay.
I know. I know.
Does your dad watch the show?
Sometimes. I hope he's not watching right now. If you are, Dad, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. All right, well, we're going off the rails real quick. Hey, we're going to step aside here on BTBD Live, episode 92. Don't go anywhere. No, the show's not going anywhere. We are going to have Marie Wilson. She and I talked just before the show to talk about Darth Vader number 6, going beyond the panel. And so we're going to go step aside real quick and hear what she has to say. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll keep talking the live chat. And this is probably the worst segue I've done in 92 episodes. All right. As we do every week on BTBD Live, we go beyond the panel with Marie Wilson from BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Marie, how are you?
I'm great.
Great to have another week of Star Wars comics. Great to have another week where you and I can talk about these Star Wars comics. And the big issue this week that's out at your local comic book shop starting today, this Wednesday, October 14th. It's Darth Vader number 6. Greg packs a punch with this issue. And you know what, Marie? It really is just another example of how the Emperor does not have any really respect or remorse for Vader.
Not at all. It was so incredibly disturbing reading this comic issue. Like, I got queasy, and I was just, some of the panels were so gruesome. It was intense how brutal Palpatine was being to him.
And when you think about this issue, for someone that hasn't been reading Darth Vader so far, again, just 6 issues in, but what's really happening right now? What's the time period? What are we exploring right now?
So it's after Empire Strikes Back, and Vader has told Luke that he is his father, and Luke didn't accept that and escaped. And so Vader went on this mission to figure out who turned Luke the way that he is. And we went through this wonderful prequel exploration with Sabe and Ricole and all these wonderful prequel characters. And because of all of this, Palpatine sees Vader as being treasonous, as being a traitor, because he didn't follow instructions. And so Palpatine is punishing him. And the cool thing is, we see Vader broken, defeated, and at rock bottom. We don't see the invincible Vader. we see a very human Vader who is deeply affected by the people that he once cared about.
Which is a bit of a contrast when we think about maybe when we think of like Charles Soule's take
Mhm.
on Vader, that 2015 run, 25 issues. A lot of fans think it's perfect. I'm one of those people. That was an all powerful Vader that was able to put Inquisitors in its place and, you know, handle Jacasa Nu and these, you know, surviving Jedi, a very strong Vader, a raw Jedi after the events of Revenge of the Sith. But this is a Vader that's, it feels like the world is kind of breaking in, learning about a Skywalker living. Well, there's only one way a Skywalker could walk this galaxy. That had to be my offspring. And we learn that Vader just, I mean, I don't want to give the spoiler away in this review. That's why you do your spoiler review on beyondtheblastdoors.com. But there is an epiphany that Vader has at the end of this issue. And I would think that between learning about a potential son, the Emperor's lack of respect for Vader, basically casting him as putting him right back on Mustafar, where he was found by the Emperor at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then learning that another familiar Jedi from the past may still be alive. Like mentally, you feel through the writing of Greg Pak, through the artistry of this comic, you definitely feel a sense that Vader is unstable and very not in control of his situation. He's definitely at his lowest low.
Absolutely.
So I guess, Marie, when we think about this issue, you know, like we're raving about it. We really like it, even though it is kind of disturbing. Would you say that it's the relationship between Palpatine and Vader further exploited that would be enough reason for anyone to go out to their LCS and buy this comic?
Yes, absolutely. I just think seeing someone who we usually see as incredibly strong, powerful, and invincible being taken down a few notches, and I know we don't always want to humanize our villains, but getting that little bit of humanness to him actually sort of makes his character more rich to me.
I would agree with that. It's the vulnerability of it, and I
Yeah.
think you have to um, play with that once in a while to allow Vader to be redeemed in Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
And I think that for a lot of people, I mean, I wasn't in theaters in the '80s watching those movies for the first time, but you know, when I got to watch those movies, I had other movies to have context. But when I think about how Vader is redeemed in Return of the Jedi, I like knowing that there are these moments that tugged on him emotionally of his past, and that maybe was what helped keep the light, the little bit that existed in Vader, alive. But maybe I'm going way too deep into it, Marie. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think that instead of Luke being electrocuted by Palpatine being this one giant push that pushed him over to the light, that perhaps it was just the last straw.
And that's a
Now
good
that
way
we're
to
seeing the series develop.
do you- how, you know, overall though, like you're pretty happy with how this series has gone. It's only 6 issues. It's hard to judge, and
Yeah.
it's not fair to put it up against like Soul's 25 issue run, but I just think that of all the stories they tell in comic book form, they're really nailing Vader, multiple points of the canon timeline.
Mhm.
That it's like you can't make a mistake with this guy. It's like everything you have Vader touch, whether it's Rogue One or it's here in the comics. You had the canon novel Lords of the Sith several years ago, but it's all really good.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's so funny. I'm always like, there's no way they can do another Vader thing. There's no more stories. And then I read them and I'm like, oh, well, never mind.
That's funny.
Because they're always so good.
Looking ahead to the future, Marie, what are the comics out next week that we should keep an eye open for? Because as far as I know, the big one is Star Wars Bounty Hunters.
Yes. Bounty Hunters number 6, where we see the return of Forlom and Zuckuss, which should be really interesting. I'm pretty excited about that one.
And it's I mean, from my point of view, that's definitely a comic if you're more in the trenches of your Star Wars fandom, if you know it's for more insider baseball, but it's a fun little run right now. And if you have time and you have the money to pick up an extra line, it's a fun one to explore. I believe the previous issue was the one where we saw Boba Fett just really wreak havoc on those around him. And so it's a fun adventure, I think, for any
Yes.
comic fan to enjoy.
Absolutely.
Marie, I left you hanging there. I was like, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything more about that, but I will give you the opportunity, as always. If people want to interact with you about comic books, specifically Star Wars comic books, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine.
All right, wonderful. And that's on the screen. Marie Wilson with Beyond the Blast Doors, talking about Star Wars comics beyond the panel. We do it every week on the show. Marie, thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Big thanks to Marie Wilson for joining me again. Beyond the Panel, we do it every Wednesday night to take a look at comics out this week. She is the best. Always appreciate her time. You can also find that for future use on the YouTube channel over there at www.youtube.com/Beyond the Blast Doors. That's my best pitch. You guys all awake? How we doing, fam? What are you laughing at me for?
I just said
Nobody uses
like you were losing a little
www anymore.
Yeah, no one. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That should just be assumed in 2020, right? Every website needs the www, right? Okay. Well, thanks a lot,
Doesn't
guys.
even need it. That's the best.
Well, I'm just trying to have a good time. I'm just trying to have a
Saying
good time.
www is a good time. That's you really need to get out.
I'm this close to kicking your ass out of this show again. I am this close. I'm not on screen, so people can't see it, but I am this close. Hey, the final topic tonight on BTB Live, episode 92. Luke Skywalker dies in George Lucas's Star Wars sequel trilogy treatment. Yes, it's true. You heard it here and like everywhere else because it just came out this week. Star Wars Fascinating Facts, Story, Lore, and History from the Greatest Galaxy by Pablo Hidalgo is the new book on the block, igniting this conversation. He reveals inside the book Luke Skywalker's destiny, which was written years before production began on episode 8. It confirms George Lucas had Luke Skywalker die in the middle chapter of his sequel trilogy Story 2, which is highly controversial because when he died in The Last Jedi, everyone said, well, but George would have kept him alive forever. And I think to be fair, I probably was one of those people.
Did you say it like that?
I probably did. I'm not gonna lie about it. I wasn't too happy when it happened. My dad, we're in the theater. There's 6 people, and it's he and I, and in the row, and it's like a mom, dad, and like a 7-year-old. Luke dies. My dad just out loud, that's bullshit. And I was just like, you cannot do that in public. He's like, well, I paid money. And anyways, that's why we won't let Dave on the show. But hey, here's my first question for you guys. When you think about the fact that George also had Luke go in his 8th chapter, what do you think the difference is between that Luke Skywalker and the Luke Skywalker we got to know in The Last Jedi are? Arzu, I'm sorry. I'll start with you. What do you think those differences are between the George Lucas Luke Skywalker and the Luke we met in Rian Johnson's film?
So I think Luke was always going to feel a bit different, however George wrote him, just because he's his. So he's got his own sentimental attachment to it. But I am going to get yelled at for this. I really like Luke's arc in The Last Jedi. I think it makes sense for the setup they gave him. I think that, that it's nice to, not nice, but like it's compelling to see, the hopeful, sweet farm boy who took on the mantle of this impossibly large legacy. And then it's just crushing him. And then he fails in the worst possible way, fails his own family. And then in that last moment finds peace and purpose and sort of brings it full circle. And then in a peaceful way passes into the Force. So like when he died at the end of The Last Jedi, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised, but I wasn't shaken. I was like, that makes sense. I am happy that you went in such a peaceful way. I like the justification in the book too, that to keep Luke around for for George's potential 3rd trilogy was that if you keep Luke around, he's going to overshadow everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes his story all over again. And I think the point was if you're going to make another trilogy, to make it about the new people. So that was, I guess, the rationale behind killing Luke in the middle chapter. So it made sense to me then, and it makes sense to me for the way it played out.
I really like that, but I will admit I had a hard time accepting that. But I think the point that you made is right. Luke will overshadow that entire trilogy of films. But Pete, But Pete, I really wanted to see more of Luke. I guess my thing though too is, when I think about Luke Skywalker, either role that he had, it also seemed that both George and Ryan kind of viewed Luke the same, in isolation on an island, having to kind of be saved by this next generation of Force user, next generation of Jedi. How does this land with you when you learn that it's a little bit more aligned with what we got in The Last Jedi than what we maybe thought a few months ago?
I think part of the much like Arzu, I'm a fan of The Last Jedi. I thought it was a very I enjoyed that movie a lot. So honestly, it's funny that this is even becoming a conversation on Twitter. I think it's and in social media. I think it's kind of a non-issue in that. Okay, so George was going to have Luke die. You can't honestly. You can't if you think about it. You can't tell a story of somebody's life without telling how they die. So they're going to die in the film. I think what's interesting. I just for next week's episode of Around the Galaxy, I have Mike Chen, who wrote a story for From a Certain Point of View, Empire Strikes Back, and he made an interesting observation that I never thought about before, and I think it's appropriate here. And he said that he enjoyed the sequels. And you can hear the full interview next week. But one of the things he said was if they had opted not to name them 7, 8, and 9, it might have been easier for us to manage those stories or accept those stories simply because the legacy it has to carry is so big. That being said, the fact that George was going to kill off Luke and Ryan killed off Luke, I think I honestly think this is the biggest non-story of Twitter whining that I've seen in a while. So there I am.
Well, that's no, and that's valid too. Here's my thing. I think that the one thing that we don't know with all this is how did Luke die in that treatment compared to what happened with The Last Jedi. I don't know. We can all kind of fantasize. I'm personally someone who kind of felt like, listen, some of us spent 40 years wanting to know what happened next. I would have liked to see a little bit more of like Luke Jedi Master Prime and then die. But as far as like Luke coming back to face Kylo, that exchange, the moment with Carrie, and then him ultimately passing into the Force, I thought was incredibly well done. And that is something that I'll never take away from this Last Jedi or the sequel trilogy. Like I was there for that. I wasn't a big fan of Grumpy Luke, but it's very well known. It kind of reminds me of Pete, honestly, but it's also well documented that was going to be something similar to what George was concocting himself. This lost Luke and having to be saved, whether it's what was it, Kira was going to be, or whatever character Rey ultimately became.
All the various names that they had,
right?
Her,
But
Winky's my favorite.
Winky,
I think it's cool. I don't know about you guys, but would you ever want to read the treatments? I mean, for me, I would. It kind of gets into dangerous territory, right? When the Colin Trevorrow script leaked several months ago, and people kind of went wild about that. But I don't know. It'd be kind of curious because, to your point, Arzu, it's like I want to know what George wrote, because how he writes those characters is just going to innately be different because, well, that's kind of the narrative. He's been the storyteller with a lot of those characters for so long. I don't know. I'd like it, but I could see how it could become really catastrophic.
I would have said that I'd like to see them prior to the Duel of the Fates script coming out. But then when that came out, the conversation online is sort of treating that and The Rise of Skywalker as like the same thing.
Yep.
And it's like, well, this one, I'm like, but that's not real. That's a script that got a man fired. So how much do we want? Like, I don't know if the script, I don't know. But like, that's a script that ultimately decided. Breaking news. No, that's the script that they ultimately decided not to make.
Right.
So,
well, I what I would add to that, Arzu, and I think you're right. We all love the what could have been, right? I mean, we all love reading the things about what the Star Killer and the original versions of the Star Wars saga, but nobody says we were robbed because Luke Skywalker should have been named Star Killer and he should have been a 50-year-old man, and all the things that were part of the original. The problem is we live in a world now where people will say we were robbed. This is what we should have gone. I've read the Trevorrow script. and I love it as a piece of history, and I love pieces of it, and frankly, it's a better story. But the whole thing, I never once will say we were robbed, we didn't get what we deserved. And so I think I would love to see what George had in mind. Because there'd probably be parts of it that would be fantastic and parts that we wouldn't care about. But the problem is, if they did say what George wanted to do, Twitter would be flooded with "we were robbed. This is what we should have gotten," and that's not the case. Stories evolve, stories change. I think people need to realize that Star Wars is a fictional universe about space wizards and empires and starships, and because it is a story much like Game of Thrones and X-Files and Avengers and all that stuff, and those stories change as they're being written. There is no set law. And on set, I mean, the greatest Star Wars line was written on set by Harrison Ford, the "I love you, I know," right? So
Yep.
that was not George's vision. That was not part of the script. Were we robbed by Harrison Ford not saying, "Well, you better wait for me"? No, we got something
That would have been awful
and better.
I'm glad you weren't writing Empire Strikes Back.
No, that
Christ.
was the original line.
Oh, that was what the. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like "I love you too."
Yeah,
But Jesus.
But so social media needs to just chill the hell out and be like, "Oh, that's interesting. That would have been cool, but this is what we got, and this is our story, and this is what we'll live with."
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm never going to base an opinion of mine off of social media because on it, I don't even care about them. I will say this: what is pretty cool is they took George Lucas's original treatment for the original trilogy and made that a comic book,
which was fun.
And I think that was really fun. And I would not be opposed to them doing that again with these treatments. Not canon, just an Elseworlds kind of thing. I think it's a cool way to do the what if. And that's just me. But you know what, though? If we never see the treatments, that's fine. I personally would like to see it. We want to know what you think. Would you like to see George Lucas's treatments? Do you like learning these little tidbits? Over the course of time, Pablo Hidalgo revealing that, Luke Skywalker died in Lucas's episode 8 too. Let us know down in the comments below, or if you're watching on the rewind, listening on the rewind, you can always hit us up on Twitter at BTBD Star Wars. And real quick, Arzu, you've actually read this book in its entirety.
Yes, I have.
Hundreds and hundreds of pages. You read it in like 38 minutes because you're just such a passionate, fast reader. Can you? I'm going to put 45 seconds on the clock. Just tell us why we need to read this damn book.
So you need to read this book if you like behind the scenes stuff for movies, if you are brushing up for your next, virtual pub trivia, if you like the little fact sheets about planets or ships. Or one thing I will say, I do not recommend the character timelines because I caused a minor kerfuffle on Twitter over the character timelines. I don't know if anybody else has seen that, but don't proofreading. But otherwise, I highly recommend it. It's really, really interesting. And they've mixed prequel, original, and sequel content together. So it's not divided in any sort of chronological order. So you never really know what's coming next. So I actually highly recommend this book, despite the kerfuffle I caused.
Well, and here's my question, Arzu, is does that really hurt your experience when you're, reading these books or kind of consuming any story? You're one of those fans I feel like is really in the trenches. So those canon mishaps, those misfires, does that really rattle your experience as a fan, as a consumer?
A couple of times when it messes with the story as I understand it, then it's like with Obi-Wan Kenobi's timeline, his whole adventure on Mandalore. I and my friends had been sort of led to believe that this happened when he was about 1920, and the timeline says 15, which doesn't sound right because it seems to go against Master and Apprentice and his whole vibe with Qui-Gon and how they didn't get along in that book. So how on earth were they on the run together for a year in Mandalore and not getting along? But if you had said it after that book, then of course they get along and it's fine. And then there's the whole thing with Luke and Kylo's timeline that I honestly think was probably just a typo and I caused all this chaos for nothing. But then, yeah, so it takes me out of it a little bit, but that's 3 pages in a 200-page book. So.
Yeah, I think what the pages that I've been able to glance at so far, I think that if you're a casual fan that likes to go to the movie theater and consume these movies, you'll get some tidbits about some of your favorite moments that you didn't maybe know. If you've watched the Empire at War documentary. Is that what it's called? The Empire at War?
Empire
of Dreams. Empire of
Empire of
Dreams.
Dreams, yeah.
If you've watched that like 5 times, you're gonna know like a third of this book. That's just reality.
Yeah.
We're gonna know at least a third of this book. But I thought it was really interesting. I still think there's little tidbits in there that the diehard fans will appreciate. So a really good read. Please go read Arzu's article on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. She did a bang-up job on this. She also included the pre-order link for you to grab that book as well. So if you want to pick up a copy yourself, you have a way of doing that at BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Fam, episode 92. We've hit an hour. This has been a blast. I mean, do we all feel good? I mean, are you all having fun?
Yeah.
Had a good time?
Yeah.
Pete, the whole time you've been very convincing with your passion about tonight's experience. What whiskey are you drinking tonight?
I'm sticking with Angel's Envy. I'm sticking with that till that bottle's gone. So I'm good.
Oh, that's a good one. I actually was just drinking water because I got on the scale a couple weeks ago and realized that I've gained weight, and so it's water for me. I said it was tequila earlier because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be cool, but that
Hey,
I'm
This-
just drinking water.
This is a
You-
no peer
thank you.
pressure zone. I mean, I have water in my bottle here, but
Oh, you want to flash that bottle one more time?
oh, you mean if somebody wants to get a decal from tpublic.com/user/Beyond the Blast Doors, they can do that. Isn't that a cool logo though? That's pretty
Wow.
cool.
That
What?
is
You asked me to show it again. I wasn't gonna.
something special. Hey, by the way, this is the last thing we're going to talk about. I love this. The comments end the show on. We need a lot more midichlorians. That's what we needed in episode 8. That's a comment that makes me want to drink. Hey, fam, it seriously has been a lot of fun. Arzu, thanks for agreeing to do this. Originally, you were going to do 9 minutes with us, and you gave us a whole damn hour. So
Thank you. It was awesome having you on the show. This is so much fun. I'm so glad you're part of the family.
will you be back?
Yeah.
Will you come back? Do you want to
I
come
will
back?
come back weekly if you'll have me. This was fun.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to talk about this off camera.
Just
No, yeah.
inviting myself over in front of all these people so that they can't say no.
Yeah, did you have to do it here? Did you see? Okay, by the way, before we go, this is worth looking up. Have you seen the video of the girl who just like storms the boyfriend in the Target? She's in a wedding dress, has a witness, a pastor, and is like in the middle of this store. You're going to marry me right now or I'm leaving you. And it's like all on video. He pulls her aside and he says it loud enough, the idiot. He goes, "You couldn't have told me about this." So this is going viral. And I'm like, honey, you just need to leave. If you got to storm your man like this in the Target, and it was like in the pet food aisle, it wasn't even in the newborn aisle or like the summer clothing line. It was just terrible. The whole thing. Just if you want to laugh at someone else's expense, which is essentially what we do on the show every week, then by all means go check that out. Do we
Hey,
what Pete? What
Wait,
Pete?
I just want to point out, Gilster just threw $4.99 in a super chat. Thank you,
Whoa!
Gilster. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and throwing that up there and being a part of the family with us. And it's let me just say, first of all, in all seriousness, thank you, Arzu, for joining the team and adding another voice, another perspective, and thank you to everybody who joins us week to week and hangs out in the chat and gives us their opinion. As David says a lot, there's like a second show going on down there in the chat, and that's what I'll do is after we do the show, I often go back and just watch it, not to hear David's voice, but to watch the conversations and get caught up on all the great stuff people are talking about. So thank you all for joining us. It's a lot of fun.
This was the last week that Pete Fletcher will be on BTBD Live. It'll just be Arzu and I moving forward. No, I honestly, this is the show that I wanted when I started this thing 4 years ago. Is I wanted to have a bunch of different perspectives. I wanted young and older. I wanted guys and girls. I wanted that wide spectrum of knowledge because I think it's really important. And I think that allows us to tackle maybe some topics that aren't Star Wars related sometimes. Because of the diversity that is now on this show. It was at one point just me, and we all know how that went. No, I'm kidding. We had a good time, but this would be a lot more fun. Pete, stop it. You're not on the show anymore. I'm really excited about what the future holds for the show and the network. It's really exciting, and it doesn't happen without any of you guys. And so I just realized that if we're going to end this show, the only way to do that would be to have the closing animation, which we may or may not have. And so here we are, episode 92. Arzu, immediately regrets coming on this show after the sincere praise that both Pete and I just gave her. She has immense regret, and I feel terrible.
Nobody's ever gonna see me again. That's it. I'm
You know,
switching fandoms. I'm gonna go read something else.
Right.
You know, why don't you just go on Twitter and complain about the canon timeline some more? Because that won't ruin my
Maybe
Twitter
I
feed at all.
will. Maybe
God.
I'll go on another Kylo Ren tangent and make somebody cry. I don't know.
You know, fam, it's been real. Before we let everybody go, we will do this. You know what? We'll do it. Where can the good people find you if they can follow you, if they want to follow you? Arzu, what's the best way to follow you?
If you want to see me cause chaos about canon timelines and cry about Kylo Ren, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Arzu Amin and at my website, arzud2.com. And I'm Arzu D2 on Instagram if Instagram's your thing, but the complaining and the crying happen on Twitter and my website.
Pete, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ATGcast. That's the best place to find me. And every Tuesday, a new Around the Galaxy episode drops. And next Tuesday, Mike Chen, author of the short story Disturbance from a Certain Point of View Strikes Back book, which comes out November 10th.
Awesome. And congrats again on that last episode with Kevin. Really well done. Really well done.
So much fun.
And if you want to follow me, I mean, why? But if you wanted to, you can find me always at Ammo on the Air on Facebook and Twitter. That is going to do it for episode 92 of BTBD Live. We're so glad that you were able to join us. I don't know what episode I just said it was, but 92. It's episode 92. And you can always find us. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. That's where you can catch the podcast form, but you can always catch us Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. I'm telling you, that graphic, we got to fix that graphic. That graphic is wrong, but we'll fix it soon enough, and it'll be great. We'll see you guys soon. It's been a week. It'll be better next week.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Door. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Door, a Star Wars conversation.
Yeah, I was supposed to end the stream by now.